Hello, everyone. I'm Denton Davidson, senior editor for Gold Derby, and I'm here with an Emmy-nominated sound duo from the Starz limited series Gaslit, starring Julia Roberts and Sean Penn. We have John W. Cook II, the re-recording mixer, nominated for Best Sound Mixing for a limited anthology series or movie. And we have Kevin Buchholz, the co-supervising sound editor, nominated for Best Sound Editing for a limited anthology series or movie. So congratulations, guys.
Thanks, Denton.
Yeah. And John, I'll start with you. We're here to talk about Gaslit today, but you woke up to a pair of nominations that morning. You were also nominated for Hacks in the comedy field. So I think you're up to 24 nominations now. And you won back in 2007 for one of my favorite comedies of all time, Scrubs. So This year, what were you up to when you heard you got two more nominations? And, what is it like to be recognized once again?
Well, it's always an absolute thrill. And I was thrilled for Kevin too. I mean, for us to both get a nomination because we work hand in hand in so many ways. It's always great to be nominated alongside the supervisor and Kevin's editorial team. But what I love about these nominations it's we get so focused on the project that we're currently working on. We're just putting our lives into it. And all of our focus, and consequently the stuff that we did 6 months ago or a year ago tends to fall away a little bit in our memories. And these moments of getting nominated, I really love the feeling of, okay, time to not let this experience go away so quickly. Let's linger on it. Let's remember some of the great details that we lived together on it as a team. And so that aspect of it is just lovely.
And Kevin, how about you? You've been nominated before as well. What does this mean for you to get another nomination?
It means so much. It's really great. And I just echo what John's saying. It's very special to be nominated along Ben and John and Devendra, who did an incredible job for us. It's really neat because it is such a collaborative thing, and we're only as good as the person you pass it off to in a lot of ways, right? So if you put your heart and soul into it and then it goes to another department that doesn't do whatever they need to do or whatever, it's such a collaborative thing. So to be recognized alongside is a real thrill. For me personally, yeah, John and I have done a bunch of stuff together. We worked on a few shows under the Sam Esmail Corp banner and directly with Sam, and we've worked a lot together. So this one is particularly special for me. When I was nominated before, it was as an ADR supervisor, which I was really proud of. But this is the first time I've been recognized on my own as a co-supervisor along with Stephanie Feldman and the team. So yeah, this one's a little special in that regard because it's a first. I bow to the excellence that is John and his 24 nominations, and let's try to get one for you this time, buddy. I mean, it'd be so good. I love Scrubs too. I agree, but John's done some incredible work over the years, and I've had the privilege for the front row seat. And this one is real special for it to be, alongside him. So yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
And what are you most looking forward to about attending the Emmys this year? It's got to be a fun to go. Are you looking forward most to meeting someone or seeing people from other shows or past colleagues? What's the most fun?
I'll say that last year was it was amazing the way they still pulled off a ceremony last year in the middle of COVID. It was definitely a different experience. I don't know if everyone's going to be masked up again this year or not, but certainly last year, I imagine people will, everyone's going to be tested and stuff beforehand. There was still, there's still a lot of fear out there right now and concern about not spreading it or getting it. But last year it was pretty heavy around the whole ceremony. So I'm looking forward to kind of getting back to the old traditional Emmy Awards. I don't know if they're going to have a band again. The band there's always much, they're always so good, and it's always great to get that little list where you see where everyone's seated, and you can have this great time just floating around the room, seeing all these people that you haven't seen in a long time. And it's a great time.
Yeah. And getting dressed up and stuff. I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to like spending an evening with the team. You know what I mean? Like you would say like, we work so closely together and all this stuff, but everybody's remote. And then, kind of the leftover of COVID, there's a disconnectivity, there's an efficiency to that, where everybody can kind of work on their own schedules, and you actually there's a lot of benefits to it. You get a lot more detail when people can have their own clock, but there's something to be said for being in a room together. And it's not something that we get a chance to do very much with the team. And it's a pretty good sized team, and everybody put their heart and soul into it. So I'm really looking forward to like having the crews hang out, in a physical space. That'll be really great. And of course, what John's saying, it'll be great to see everybody, like you say, we're in the caves, right? We're all in the caves. And, it's like we shoot up these flares like, hey man, you alive? I'm alive, and that's about it. There's really not a lot of time to slow down. And so something like this, I think, is an opportunity for us to kind of go like, hey, check in with one another and just spend some time with these creative people we care and work with so much. So.
John, you're nominated for the episode Final Days, which is the last episode of the series. And the beginning of that episode is very sound detailed. It starts with this heavy breathing and passing of gas and a shower. There's cameras flashing in the White House. There's like an orchestra of sound all the time, it seems like. So what about this episode do you think highlights your work the most? And what do you think, earned the nomination for that specific episode?
Well, I think there's a story point that I really liked in the last one. I mean, there's a wrapping up of a lot of story points, but there's a story point and there's also a technical moment. The show, the Watergate story as told by Robbie Pickering, is, also a story about John Mitchell and Martha Mitchell, their love, their marriage, and it's a story about John Dean and Mo Dean and in a lot of ways, it's two tales of negotiating the human experience of power and love. And those two concepts are completely incompatible. And I loved the John Dean testimony scene, because it was the moment. Not only was it a huge turning point in the Watergate story, but in terms of the love story that Robbie Pickering was telling, it's John and Mo Dean choosing, in a complicated way, a little bit more of the love side than the power side. Obviously, it destroys Martha and John Mitchell, but here's the side of the story that where love kind of enables them to save themselves in a lot of ways, and in some ways, consequently, help in a small way save democracy for us as well. But the technical moment that I loved in this thing, which Kevin had a huge part in, and his team, was the Nixon tapes, and the way that we had to weave in Dan Stevens, who played John Dean, the way that we had to weave in a matching of Dan Stevens and the original Nixon tapes. And I know Kevin might want to talk about that scene as well. The way that they recorded the ADR was amazing, in terms of the idea was that those plant mics in the Oval Office, obviously, you'd get Nixon from 20 feet across the room, and then you'd get him right on top of the mic at times. And the way they recorded Dan Stevens was similar to that. But then my job was to, with all the great prep from the sound team, was to take it that final step and really match those tape, the Nixon with the John Dean, and to try to make it seamless. And I thought we pulled that off. That was technically a lot of fun.
Yeah. How do you record those sounds where it sounds like old audio tapes, or even the old TV shows? How do you get it to sound like it's been badly recorded, or sort of those old recordings that we hear of that era? What technical
Some of it is done in recording, but a lot of it are these amazing tools that we have after recording, which add distortion, which add tape hiss, which add like tape problems, like tape warble and things like that. It's amazing the tools that we have to try to match that stuff. A lot of that came to me, a lot of the warble and stuff came to me directly from Kevin, but I added some more distortion stuff if you want to talk more about it.
This specifically with the Nixon tapes, that's such a good example, John, of like what I had originally, like from the recordings that Paul did for us on ADR6, and then what Stephanie, my co-supervisor, did with her editorial and some of the pre-treating. She got a lot of some of that natural anomalies that you're used to hearing, right? And the Nixon tapes are legendary, right? Everybody's heard them, and if they haven't heard them closely, they know what they are. So knowing the responsibility of that, and Stephanie is just masterful at matching dialogue shape and sound and using all kinds of different tools. Isotope's a big one that we use a lot for shaping, not just for noise reduction, but for really shaping. And then she delivered something to me that I thought was fantastic. And I'm a recovering musician like everybody else in post, it seems like. And she sent me something that was really great. And I have a bunch of guitar pedals and stuff. And I have a pedal called Generation Loss, which is essentially a VCR emulator, if you get the idea of that warble and stuff. So she gave me this really beautiful, like kind of natural anomaly, great match to it. And all I really did was I did a little bit of editorial. I just ran it through that guitar pedal and just put that sheen on it, gave it to John, and then he took it the rest of the way. We get it about half the way there, I think. And then John really puts it in a place. And that in particular was such a team effort, because it's a pretty huge task to, say, hey, make Nixon tapes, you got to get it close, right? So that he can see the intent, and then John and Ben can do what they do best, which is really take it to that level and really focus on the very specifics that make it really shine and really sell it. We just try to deliver good ingredients and let them cook, So that was kind of the idea. That was my only little secret sauce thing, because I was like, this will mess it up. You know what I mean? That's all I could think. And because I've used it on different things before with Sam, and it did a pretty good job. Put a little bit of noise in it, a little bit of warble, gave it that analog feel, right? Because we're dealing with tape, we're dealing with physical material in those recordings to actually capture the audio, whereas digital, sometimes it's a different beast. So we try to emulate as best we can. But John and Ben really took that to a special place. To have Dan Stevens in a studio match into Nixon was a special thing. So yeah.
And Kevin, for you, it's Year of the Rat, which is the next to last episode. And again, the sound on that just drives up the intensity really of the entire episode. It's like the doors closing on Martha as she goes to testify. What stands out for me is the actual rats, like the chewing, the climbing, the squeaking. So what about that episode for you is the highlight of your work?
It's the rat. I mean, I obsessed about that rat for so long, and I know John was probably sick of me, like, this is rat, man. And it's like it's what we're going to design, and we're going to be co-starring or whatever with Shay, and Shay's really playing off of all this, and it's got to be right. And Shay's performance just requires the sound to have equal gravity, right? If it's not right, then why is he reacting the way it is? Why is this so maddening to him, right? So my responsibility, I thought, in so many ways was, let's not make it over the top. Let's make it familiar, but let's make it something that you just can't ignore. And we tried so many different things. And to be honest, again, this was a huge collaboration between Noel and Jacob, our Foley artists, Dan Kramer, my sound designer, Adam Parrish King, who also designed. Everybody took a pass at the rat. And at the end of the day, everybody got the different layers. And then kind of a stroke of genius for me, we're doing some construction here at my facility, and they're putting things in around the walls, and they were running wires as they were trying to set up a television. And I actually just set up mics and recorded what it sounds like to hear somebody fishing something through a wall, because there's nothing really takes the place of proximity is my feeling with everything. So if you get a natural recording of something that sells distance, and just feels right when you hear it, start there and then build out from there. And then of course, when you need specifics for, you know, Shay's little eye darts and stuff like that, lean on Foley a little bit more because it's more performed. It seems more direct. And if you need something a little more abstract that kind of sells the distance, use some of that field recording stuff. And then some of the squeaks were all Dan. So Dan really came up with these really great squeaks. And there was a hamster recording that I had, the way hamsters kind of chew on stuff, that kind of scratch, 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 scratch. So we did scratches and we did some chewing because rats love to chew on all kinds of stuff. So we kind of mixed chewing with scratches and stuff like that. So the rat itself was probably the most challenging thing in its delicate nature, because you couldn't just put a bunch of rats in there because it wouldn't be right. It's really kind of like one rat versus another. And then you reveal that there's actually a couple more later, but it really wasn't a mano-a-mano thing. And he quite literally says mano-a-mano, like it's him versus the rat. It's the year of the rat, not the year of the rats. So like I tried to make sure it was one singular animal, but it had enough gravitas. So at least it didn't, you know, seem weak opposite Shay. And then, you know, all the prison sequence was amazing. And that was Stephanie and, you know, our loop group and everything that Jason Harris did and bringing all that together. So it had a lot of dynamic. It was really, really busy in moments that I loved. And the way John mixed that music and that whole music cue that went through and told that whole story of his prison experience. And then we got a chance to really, you know, focus it down. So I would say it would be the cacophonous, you know, kind of prison montage was really exciting to hear. And we had a lot of fun with some of the things we got to say. Thank you, Stars, for letting us be as colorful as we would like to be with some of the things they would say in a prison. We all know it wouldn't be PG. And then getting really specific with the rat itself. And then just, we did an ADR session with Shay Wingham where he helped us supplement everything of his breaths and efforts. I mean, it's all him, right? And we did a 4.5 hour ADR session where he just kept going and giving us more little tasty bits so that we could put little breaths and efforts, little exertion, stuff like that. So there was a really delicate and really bombastic nature. So having that dynamic, I know that's two things, but that's what I would say. I'd say the dynamics overall, that's my answer. That's what I like the most.
So you're taking the final edits and adding your sound to that, correct? And then how big is the team that you work with before you pass it along to John? What's sort of the process there? Walk us the cliff notes.
The cliff notes. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little wordy. It starts with Devendra, the production sound mixer. He's a huge part of the team. I know technically he's listed as production, but as he should be looped in with the mixers because it's a huge part of it. So it starts with him, but I'm not directly responsible, but Devendra is a big part of the team. And then it's 1, 2, 3. So I've got 2 sound effects editors that help me, my co-supervisor, Stephanie, that helped me, Sang Kim, our dialogue editor, who did an incredible job for us, our Foley artists and Foley editor. There's 3 there. And then, you know, our loop group coordinator, Jason Harris. So that would be the whole team. And then, you know, he had 6, sometimes 8 actors that we would work with to fill out some of the busier sequences. So yeah, that's the full team.
It's so impressive. And then John, you take it from there. And what's your team and dynamic look like once you have everything? And what's your goal as when you're mixing?
I think that it's basically Ben Wilkins, my mix partner, and I. Typically, and we work in a typical fashion where I'm doing dialogue and loop group and ADR and music on my side, and Ben's covering the ambiences and the hard effects and the Foley, and we're communicating the whole time about the choices that we're making to make sure that we've got a common goal with Kevin in the room too. So the 3 of us are kind of shaping the mix together. And, you know, so for this, I think this description of what my goal is probably runs across pretty much every show I do. But I think that specifically with Gaslit, you know, clarity of dialogue is super important. But the emotion that loud sound effects or big music or subtle things as well. So it's clarity and emotion, you know. I mean, obviously you get emotion from the words that are being spoken as well, but it's about you know, we try to help tell the story in the way that Robbie wants it to be told. But hopefully we get it 85% of the way before he even comes in to listen to it for the first time.
And the performances were great as well. When you look back now that I mean, you've been away from this job for a while, as you said, and now it's kind of fun to come back as nominees. The limited series category is just so stacked. So to even be recognized in any categories, I mean, congratulations. So what are you most proud of when you look back on just your overall experience on Gaslit?
I think, you know, I think it's just a tight mix. I think that it helped. There were sort of vintage aspects of it with all the televisions and the Nixon tapes and the older cars and stuff that I think we did a good job of integrating that stuff. On a technical level, I think, it's a good sounding mix. I think that, I think that's usually the goal for all of us.
Yeah.
To be able to look up and be mixing Julia Roberts and Sean Penn and that great cast, with a story that was, timely and important, being retold. It was a great experience that way.
Kevin, how about you?
Yeah, I guess the best, well, to John's point about like getting a great story like this from Robbie and Amelia and getting an opportunity to work with really talented folks like John and Ben who take it to such a special level. And then, the team kind of pulling together. It's wonderful to be a part of something that already has a sense of gravity and importance, not only in its subject matter, but in its cast. It's exciting to be a part of a team of creatives that understand the weight and gravity of something special. And whenever you're a part of something where everybody collectively has that feeling of this could be something really special, the best things come out. So just being in that environment, even when it's stressful, I mean, I was working all through Christmas on this show, but it felt like special, it felt like something that was going to be memorable for us. And I think, like John was saying, having these moments and even this type of thing is nice to kind of pause and go like, wow, what a gift to be a part of something neat like that, to look up and see Julia and Sean having this bombastic argument and being trusted to craft it and make it as great as you can. You don't have to ask your team to dig deep. It's already there. So I would say that's probably the best thing for me, to be a part of that.
Well, listen, it was a great series. Congratulations on your work and your well-deserved Emmy nominations, and best of luck. To our viewers watching, head over to goldderby.com, make your Emmy predictions, and check out more interviews with this year's nominees. John and Kevin, thanks for speaking with Gold Derby today.
Thanks so much.
Take care. Thanks a lot.